Pod of Thunder.
Oh yeah! Welcome to Pod of Thunder, the recognized symbol of excellence in rock and roll podcasting, brought to you by Blue Microphones. And thank you to Joe Capone for the opening of the show. Guess who's here today? You'll never guess. I'll give you one.
Here's my buddy Andy.
Oh, I can't fool you. It's your buddy Andy, America's little brother. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the man who was once referred to as...
He was a moocher, a card cheat, a country club golf hustler, a scumbag.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Chris L. There he is. And Chris L.
I take offense to the implication that I was ever a moocher.
You were not a moocher?
I don't think that ever applied to me. The other ones, maybe. But moocher...
No objection to scumbag.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Moocher, though, that's a bit over the line.
That's too much, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I noticed you have some space over there on the buddy bench today, Chris. What's going
on?
on?
The virtual buddy bench. We've got a special guest, and he's so special that we lined up a custom intro for him from comedian Nick DiPaolo. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is.
Well, without further ado, here it is.
You're a thick-ankle, dog-faced, lying whore is what you are.
We bring in Meltdown, on-air personality from the mighty WRIF, WRIF in Detroit, Rock City. Welcome to the show, Meltdown.
Hey, thanks. That intro brought a tear to my eye. So
yeah, it was just for you. We pulled some strings and made it happen. So
yeah, I'm super excited to be on the show. Thank you guys so much for asking me. Of course, I've been listening for a couple of years now, and yeah, this is fun, man. It's funny because we're not going to talk about the song yet, but I had one picked out in honor of Ronnie James Dio today. But then something happened, which we'll talk about here, and I'm like, I texted Chris. I'm like, let's try this song.
Okay.
Yeah, you just got to go with kind of your gut on these things. But
it's the anniversary of Ronnie James Dio's death today.
It is. They were recording.
Was that 4 years ago?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, that was like 9 years ago.
9 years ago?
Yeah.
No.
9 years ago, yeah.
Oh, my God. 9 years ago.
Yes, sir.
He died in 2010?
Yeah, man.
So I went to go see him. That must have been 2008 or 2009. I didn't realize it was that soon after that he passed away. Mm-hmm. I saw him when he was doing that tour. It was the Heaven and Hell, Motorhead. Right. I forgot what that was called, whatever that tour was. But, yeah. I remember leaving work early from Playboy, asking, hey, can I leave early to go see Motorhead and Heaven and Hell? Yes, leave now. Okay, cool. So,
what the hell did you do at Playboy? I never heard this story.
Oh, well, Chris worked there for a long time. Would you start 99 to 2012?
Yeah, roughly.
So, yeah, Chris was there for 13 years, but I was there on the tail end of that, 2008, and then I overlapped a couple years to 2014. But I was like in the video world. Chris was in the copywriting world.
Yeah, neither of us are in the photography world. Although Andy, I got the video camera.
I directed, so as weird as that sounds, I directed videos for Playboy.
Yeah, that was a pretty
you guys doing something about porn titles a few weeks ago or a couple episodes ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never went that far, but Chris wrote probably literally thousands or maybe just hundreds.
No, it had to have been easily thousands.
Easily thousands of descriptions of adult DVDs and novelties for a catalog.
Playboy owned the Spice brand and their retail catalog. I wrote all the descriptions for that for years. That was easily the best job I've ever had. So
yeah, no question. Yeah, one of my friends actually did a lot of photography for Playboy. His name is Sam Tang. He's right here in Detroit. So
okay, cool.
A big fan of his powdered drink. Big fan of that powdered drink that the spacemen drink.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how many young people will even get that.
They still sell Tang. Maybe not the spaceman part, but Tang's still available, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
so.
I don't know.
Well, I'd just like to say how thrilled I am to have you on because just to, even though I left the Detroit area in 1991, so I haven't actively heard your work, the fact that I'm sharing a program with a on-air personality from one of the seminal rock radio stations of my youth is pretty awesome. So,
well, yeah, I appreciate that. I started in November 1st, 1995. The first song I talked out of, and I talked about this with Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper's band a couple weeks back on my podcast, was Elected. It was right around Election Day.
Oh, yeah.
sweet.
And so I left Buffalo and I got a job out here. I was doing overnights. Actually, my first shifts I was hired to do was 2 a.m. to 5:30. So you can imagine, by the time you get rolling, it's like it's time to pack up and go home. But my dad said, give it 6 months and see what happens. And here I am 23 and a half years later talking to you guys. It's like I've reached the peak of my career tonight. Right.
This might be the go home part that your dad warned you about. It took 23 years, but you finally got there.
Yeah,
that's right. Here I am.
But we are happy to have you. So
yeah, absolutely, totally.
Well, thank
totally
you. Yeah, it's my pleasure, my honor. I like the show a lot, and I listen to it whenever I can. And I'm a big music fan, obviously, and I grew up on Kiss. I think I'm older than you guys by a few years, but I'm
I can remember. So sure about that. How old are you?
I'm 50. I just turned 50.
Nah, I got you by a couple of years, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but close enough.
I've been a Kiss fan for a lot of years, and I was telling you guys before we started that Gene Simmons actually for a couple of years had me blocked on Twitter, and I'm not exactly sure why. But then I interviewed him twice in the last year, whatever. And the first time I interviewed him over the phone, I'm like, "Hey, dude, why am I blocked on your?" And Gene's like, I don't know. I don't really run that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. I got some guy looking over my shoulder, and yada, yada, yada. And then he unblocked me. So
wow. You don't know what you did. You don't know if you said something or if you were tagged in something that was...
My guess is that I ragged on his reality show once, maybe.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So...
Yeah.
That's just my guess. I'm not sure if that's what happened, but you saw he was at the White House today, right?
I did. What was going on over there?
I guess he went to talk and talk to the press and making his rounds and stuff. And obviously he knows Trump and whatnot. But he started talking about the stuff about how his mother came here, didn't speak any English. He didn't speak any English. The whole story, which you guys know.
Yeah.
And some of the reporters.
That's nice for Daddy.
Yeah, that's what he said when Trump's daughter came out of the wings at the Pentagon.
He talked about that, and the reporter said it was real nice and heartfelt and, blah, blah, blah. And Gene's got a great story of the American dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So
I know he focuses on that in his first book a lot.
Which one is that? What's his first one?
Kiss and Make Up.
Okay, because I read Me Incorporated on the way to Vegas one night, and he talks a lot about that stuff, growing up in Israel and whatnot. So,
yeah. That might be even more focused on that, because the first one is just like a life story, but he does touch on all that stuff, like rags to riches and how, what his mom went through in her lifetime and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and when he was on the Dan Rather interview, he got into that at length.
He was on it, too?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Yeah. So,
how many times have you guys met the Kiss guys? I mean, a lot or
zero for me.
We've encountered them at Kiss expos, and I went on one of the Kiss cruises before. So,
right.
We've been in close proximity to them.
I remember. It's kind of a long story, but I was interviewing Motley Crue one time live on the air when John Corabi was in the band in 1994, I think it was. And this was outside of Buffalo where I grew up at an outdoor venue. And off mic, as I'm talking to John, Nicky's off mic just dropping F-bombs. He's like, there must be a chicken in the room or something like that. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm live on the air. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So fast forward about 10 years, I'm interviewing the guys from Lincoln Park, and this guy comes up to me, their tour manager, and says, hey, I remember you. You're the guy from Buffalo, and Nicky was swearing off mic, and I totally forgot about it.
Oh, wow.
So then fast forward to 2009, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Kiss played 2 shows at Cobo Hall. And
we were there. We were at one of them.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Thursday before the Friday and Saturday shows, they did like this thing for just like fan club members and radio station winners and whatnot for Jimmy Kimmel. Then they recorded the Modern Day Delilah video. So I happened to see that tour manager, and I'm like, hey, do you remember me? I'm from Buffalo. He goes, oh, yeah, the Nikki Sixx thing. Well, my friend was the photographer for the meet and greets at the time. And he says, he says, "Hey, Meltdown, we're going back to do pictures. Come on with us." And so I went back there, and like literally in like 1 minute, I'm in front of all the guys with their makeup on, which was like a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
And my buddy, the photographer, is like, "Hey, Paul, that's Meltdown and Gene." I'm like, "Dude, just take the picture, man."
Yeah.
See, that's why he blocked you on Twitter. He just had a flashback to this unfortunate incident. And,
that was the first.
They snuck into my picture, my photo line, my meet and greet.
Yeah, and you didn't pay for it either.
Right.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
No freebies.
Yeah. So we reached out to Meltdown. We've been interacting for a little while on social media and then texting and whatnot, and agreed to be on the show. So as customary with our high-heeled, well-heeled guest, I can't speak to whether or not you wear high heels in the privacy of your own home. Do whatever you
At
want.
5'6", I probably should. But.
Yeah. So on your first appearance, we give you the courtesy of choosing the song. Everybody listening knows what the song and the artist is because it's the title of this episode, but Andy does not know.
Yeah, I'm the woman in the shower in Psycho, and everyone else.
Yeah,
Chris and Meltdown are the killers with the knife,
yeah.
and everyone else is the audience.
I will say that there are a few cuts by this artist on the listener submission list, but not this particular song. So would you like to discuss how you came to make this choice?
Well, yeah, so today, as we were talking about, it's the anniversary of Ronnie James Dio's death, who I had the privilege to meet in like 1994, and I actually posted on my Instagram about this today, but I've never done this before or after, but I brought all my liner notes to the concert in a plastic bag. That's, what kind of guy I was. And I happened to end up on the bus and stuff because one of my friends had recorded some stuff with them, and he was super nice, and he couldn't have been nicer. And there's not many rock stars that are shorter than me. I'm like eye to eye with Sully from Godsmack, right? But Ronnie was a little bit smaller than me.
Okay.
And he was so nice and got up and thanked me for coming and the whole thing and blah blah blah. So when we were kind of texted back and forth, I'm like, why don't we do some Dio? couple little while later, I don't know, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was. I played this song by this artist on my radio show, and I'm like, maybe we should go with this one because it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of words to it, and it's kind of like multiple band, and the song really speaks to Detroit. So I thought, what,
okay.
I'm gonna bring Detroit with me. So
yeah, nice representation of where you're coming from and where Chris came from too. So
right, exactly, yeah,
that's cool.
Chris, where'd you grow up, on the east side?
Yes, the far east side, right by like Mack Avenue and Chalmers over there.
Okay, exactly. So John 5 grew up over there too.
I went to his sister was in my graduating class in high school, and
I think you might have talked about this. Yeah, Mary, she's great.
Oh yeah, and again, I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I saw John 5 when he was in the 7th grade with his band. Play at a local Battle of the Bands when I was in a sophomore or junior in high school. I was not participating. I was quote unquote teching for one of my buddies, which meant
your guitar tech,
which meant I schlepped his shit into the venue for him. But John 5 comes out, 7th grade kid, guitar bigger than him, and just proceeded to bulldoze the place, playing note for note covers of Van Halen, Motley Crue. This is back in 1983, and we were just like, okay, we all quit. This guy is incredible, and now he's John 5. So
yeah, he's one of the really just a nice guy. And I catch myself on my podcast saying it about a lot of artists because I got to admit, man, a lot of these guys are really nice. You get to know them and stuff, and
yeah,
and Chris was talking earlier about the busy day I had. I interviewed Chris Angel today. Okay, now that's like, I never interviewed a magician before, let alone Chris Angel, but he's such a rock and roll guy and stuff. And once again, just a super nice guy. Talked to him. He we had a little bit of a mix up at the beginning, no problem. He called back, and and it's just great. And a lot of these guys are like that. And John is like the epitome of just a really super nice guy.
You had a little bit of a mix up at the beginning. Why did you play a bad intro for him and he got upset?
No, he actually called it a different line. It's kind of a long story,
okay.
But he called the wrong line. But Chris was great, and that's going to be on my my Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast. I gotta get that plug in there. So.
Yeah, when Chris heard that wrong intro, he really had to object, and we got a little sound clip of that right now. If Andy can pull it up.
How dare him? How dare him?
Yeah, you get Chris Angel on your show, get it right as PDW.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't my fault. It was actually his fault. But
okay.
Either way.
Yeah. So. Okay.
So real quick, in addition to your show you do on WRIF, you also have a podcast?
Yeah, I got a podcast. It's called Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. We kind of changed it last year. That's another thing with some of the podcasting people at work, and they wanted to change the name and stuff, which is fine. But like tomorrow, as we record this, tomorrow I got Chad Gray from Hell Yeah. And, Vinnie Paul was a friend of mine, and we used to text back and forth about hockey and stuff. And I was interviewing him yesterday, and I'm airing it tomorrow because they're releasing a new single and stuff tomorrow. And so it's like it's a really emotional. I'm not going to sit there, bawl and cry, but I was kind of a little bit moved to actually talking to Chad, who's a great interview. And it's one of those things where I started interviewing rock bands and stuff because, well, that's kind of what I do. But it's like, I don't know. It's interesting to talk to some of these guys and stuff. Sometimes you get 10 minutes. Sometimes, with guys like John Five or whatever, I'll talk to him for a half hour or 40 minutes or whatever. And it's like, so I got a lot of guests coming up here, and I've had Gene Simmons on there a couple of times, like I said, in the last year, and it's just something fun. I really enjoy doing.
It's a little bit more long form than what you would get to do on FM radio. Is that sort of the gist?
Yeah, for sure. Because when I'm doing my show between 3 and 7, it's a lot of music and different things, and I'll play clips and whatnot. I had Duff McKagan on a couple weeks ago, and I'll play some clips about that. He actually opened up about Scott Weiland and his problems, and one of the songs on his new record is about that and Chester and Chris Cornell and different things like that. But it's kind of I look at it as a challenge every time, especially with guys who I've never met before. Which the longer I'm in this business, it's fewer and fewer. But it's like I look at it as a challenge to see what I can drag out of these guys.
Yeah, try to get something different that they're not saying in every other interview.
Yeah, when I asked Chris Angel to say what song, what question would you ask Houdini, and all of a sudden there's like a 4-second pause. You're like, okay, I got him one. With something. Those are always the best reactions.
Yeah, it's not just automatically coming out because they've already said it 10 times that day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the best. That's cool. Yeah, anytime you hear that in an interview, especially when you're a fan of someone, like if it's someone, like say you have an interview with Gene Simmons and you've already heard 1,000 Gene Simmons interviews, you don't need to hear the same sound bites that you've heard 1,000 times. So whenever you get one of those, it's not someone new that you're being introduced to for the first time. That's the best.
Some of these interviews, like with, I always tell people like Gene Simmons, Alice Cooper, Sammy Hagar, whatever, you can ask these guys anything because they've heard it all. Sometimes it's some of the newer guys that haven't been around that long where it's like, I don't know if I should go over here with this because, even some of these guys, the older guys, they may not really answer your question, but they'll give you an answer.
Yeah, right. They might just start talking and not even know what they're saying.
Right. And Gene will talk like in circles kind of a little bit, but I've always found that I really like Gene, and I like talking to him and Paul and stuff like that. I always like to say that people like Gene and Ted Nugent and stuff, they kind of bring this egomaniac to a new acceptable level because they're the rock stars, and those guys are like that,
Yeah, but I always hear that Gene is the nicest out of the Kiss guys, like as far as one-on-one, behind closed doors, like Gene's the cool one to hang out with.
I can't say I've ever really hung out with them, but I did go to that thing where he was doing the vault, and that was pretty cool. And but he's always been a great interview as far as I'm concerned. You can ask him anything; he'll just go with it. So
yeah. All right. Well, I think without any further ado, we should get into this song.
Yeah, and like we discussed before we went on. We introduced the songs with the guy who won't text you back today, one Chris Jericho. And
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so since you're remote, it's kind of hard to get the timing, so I will read off the details of the song, and we will move ahead with it.
All right.
Yep.
All right, Harold. This one's called
American Badass,
off of
The History of Rock,
by the band
Kid Rock.
Ow!
Wow. Okay.
Now, with all the Detroit chatter, what did Kid Rock enter your thinking as you were anticipating what the song might be, Andy?
It did not. No. Kid Rock did not enter my mind.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, Andy, but he's from Detroit.
Yeah, I just wasn't thinking.
No, I'm not ragging on you just because he talks about it all the time. I'm just saying.
No, and doesn't I believe he's one of those guys with the D, the Detroit Tigers D tattoo, isn't he?
On one of his forearms.
You know, I saw Kid Rock a long time ago, not because I knew who he was. My oldest brother Jay was going with one of his friends, and this must have been, it was House of Blues, so it was before right before he broke the first time.
Now, was that the tour with Limp Bizkit?
No, it was before that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a headlining House of Blues.
Well, probably like 98.
Probably 98.
97,
yeah.
98.
Yeah. But I never heard of him, but I went with my older brother Jay because one of his friends backed out, and they were, like 3 or 4 of them were going. And I just remember then not knowing who he was, but being really impressed because, this is something he probably still does all the time. But he did the thing where during a song, he plays the guitar, then he takes it off, then he plays the bass, then he takes it off, then he goes and plays the drums.
Right.
Then he gets on the turntables and so you're like, oh, okay, this guy knows how to do everything. So there's instant respect there. So, yeah.
So he's pretty multi-talented, and he used to DJ. That's how he got his name, Kid Rock, because he would go and DJ parties, and they would always say, that kid rocks, or whatever like that. So
that makes sense.
But I met him for the first time in January of 1999, and then the record had come out before that. I think maybe a few months before that, if I'm not mistaken. I can't recall. The first record, "Devil Without a Cause," his big debut as far as a major label is concerned. And by October of 1999, he sold out the Palace of Auburn Hills, which is where the Pistons play. So we were talking 18,000 or whatever. And then a few months later, he plays the turn of the century at the Silverdome with Ted Nugent, Metallica, and Seven Dust. So that's how his career went from, literally nothing to playing the Silverdome in a year.
Jeez.
Yeah, and he also played Woodstock 99 as well.
That is true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, he went to the fast lane pretty fucking quickly. So
for people that don't know how big he is in Detroit, he has sold out every show at every venue he's played in, including Ford Field where the Lions play and 2 shows at Comerica Park where the Tigers play. And, 30 or 40 shows at the Outdoor Shed here since 1999. He's never not sold out a show. He opened up Little Caesars Arena where the Red Wings and the Pistons now play for 6 sold-out shows in a row. And that was the first. Those were the first events that happened at that arena.
Yeah, when I was growing up there in the 70s, if you were a rock fan, you were obligated to worship at the altar of Nugent and Seeger.
Yeah.
And now it seems that Kid Rock has taken that mantle over. If you're in any kind of, how many genres can you classify this guy now? Basically, if you're into hip hop, if you're into rock, if you're into country, and you're in the Detroit vicinity, you've got to kind of be an appreciator of Kid Rock. Because as you've seen in your time in Detroit, the citizens of that city really respond to someone who shows respect for the city. And they just
him and Eminem are the big ones, and of course Jack White to a certain degree,
right.
And different stuff like that. So
yeah, and back in the 70s, bands like Kiss, obviously with Detroit Rock City, and Jay Giles Band with Detroit Breakdown and stuff, they were just embraced by the city, and basically was the second home. So
those were 2 East Coast bands. Yeah. And Gene Simmons one time told me he stroked our radio station in the city. He went on for a couple minutes about how Detroit really, as Gene says, they welcomed us with open arms and open legs. He talks.
That's the stock, right? Yeah.
And so then he says, you could make it on the East Coast or the West Coast, but until you really planted your seeds and really made it in the middle of the country, it wasn't really real.
That makes sense, yeah.
Well, and having lived in Detroit area and now Chicago for more than half my life now, I can unequivocally say that Detroit is much more of a rock and roll town than Chicago. There's no question about it in my mind. But I could be biased, who knows? I could also be full of shit, whatever.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
So
now I will say that outside of the Detroit area, Kid Rock is a rather polarizing figure, which we as we get into the song, we can discuss some of the reasons why there. But for now, this is you want to read the text you got from Kid Rock himself about this song in advance of this episode?
Yeah,
which
sure.
Is awesome, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I floated him a text this morning, and I said I was going to be on the show and whatnot. And I said, hey, tell me about American Badass, so what you can say. So he says, I needed a hit to anchor the history of rock, which was like stuff that he had come out with before Devil Without a Cause. He was kind of like reintroducing to people.
Okay.
And he says, and I always wanted to rhyme over sad but true. I got my old friends Lars and the Metallica boys' blessing to basically put the track together in my bedroom. He got their blessing and basically put the track together in his bedroom. He says, it's just taking old school hip hop sensibilities by using 2 turntables and a microphone and putting them to what was a newer song at the time. So this is, back in 2000, and the song was 9 years old or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah, and this was, again, like on the heels of Devil Without a Cause, so this is a way to capitalize on his popularity to get some product out from his older stuff. But as seems to be the custom of late on a greatest hits package, there's always now 1 or 2 new songs included, and this was one, and this came out in 2000, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, April of 2000. It's funny because I remember this specifically, hearing it for the first time, because I had just had major ear surgery. I had my left ear completely rebuilt and everything, and I was at home actually recuperating, and that's when he dropped the song when I was at home. And I heard the song, and at first I'm like, man, Rock, what are you doing, man? I was kind of like, man, you're losing this. No, it ain't gonna work. And it's become like one of my favorite songs. And the song live in concert is just, it's just relentless.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's start the relentlessness, shall we?
All right, here we go.
Yeah, and I've set up and tore down this stage with my own 2 hands. We've traveled this land, packed tight in minivans, and all this for the fans, girls, money, and fame. I played their game and had to scream my name. I will show no shame. I live and die for this, and if I come off soft, fix you on this.
Okay, we'll cut it there. Andy, do you have the lyric sheet up?
I'm pulling
There's
them
going to be
up
a lot
now.
of
Yeah, there are a lot
of material here.
But so far, that's sort of I've been everywhere, man, kind of thing, right off the bat.
Yeah,
letting everyone know.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm picking up on is like you talking about going around the country in minivans. Pretty much just slumming it like a lot of bands do most bands, if not all bands, do at the outset. You get in a van and you play as many shows as you can at any place that'll take you, and you just get the word out. And it's a tough grind, but if you can rise above it and break through, all that experience really, pays off for you.
Well, this is all stuff that he definitely did. I was thinking about this earlier today. It's like, this song is very autobiographical, and it's very true. I mean, he did all this stuff, and he was the businessman, and he was selling CDs out of the back of his car, and he was putting up the flyers and doing all the stuff that it takes when you first start out, for somebody that really wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about his music or his persona or all the other stuff that people use to criticize the guy. You can't deny the work ethic. I mean,
No.
that's just indisputable. Self-made, rose to the top. I mean, Devil Without a Cause is a legitimate classic. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a great album. we'll get into more of the reasons, some of the stuff that people don't like about him necessarily, but I don't know. If you've never sat down and listened to Devil Without a Cause, you're missing out. That's a front to back classic, legit classic.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's in the top 100 albums of all time as far as sales or something like that. I mean, it's way up there.
I don't doubt that.
Think about that, because that record is that's 15 times platinum or something now.
Jeez.
And it's he talks about going platinum, and it was 7 times at the time when this came out. Think about the millions of people that bought that record, and it's there's not many records above it.
Yeah.
Oh, those are big. Those are huge numbers. And, he had a lot of the accessible stuff. Only God Knows Why is on there, right? Yeah. Andy's chuckling a bit. I think he's got the lyrics.
I just looked down at the lyrics for this song and chuckled at a line. We'll get to it.
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet.
No. It's just coming up.
Okay, let's. We hit the pause, so let's move ahead.
Are you scared?
Devil Without a Cause, and I'm back with the beaver hats and Ben Davis slacks. 30-pack of Strohs, 30-pack of no Rogaine in the propane flows.
Whoops.
All right, well, do we have 30-pack of Strohs? Obviously,
there you go.
Jumps out at me. I mean, that was the staple in high school and college. I mean, what great marketing. What's better than a case of beer? 30 beers in a box. The 30-pack changed everybody's life back in the early to mid 80s. Incredible.
And then top it all off with a 30-pack of hose, and you got a party going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we have the censored version. I have to jump to
that.
No. I'll jump to the other one. I didn't realize.
Yeah, we need the explicit version.
You know what's funny about it? You talk about Devil Without a Cause. I listened to that record. The first time I heard Bow to Bow, I'm like, this is what I'm after. This is what I want to hear. So I listened to that record, and I listened to it for about 6 months and realized I had the edited version.
Oh, really?
It didn't even have 2 songs on it. It was Eminem, did a song with them on that first record.
Fuck Off, I believe.
Yeah. Great song.
They couldn't even put that one on there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to get the right versions here, obviously. And Kid Rock was pretty much late to the table with getting his stuff on iTunes and streaming, right? He's one of the last holdouts, I believe.
I didn't know that.
Well, he's a businessman, and he does everything. There's a purpose and a reason behind everything he does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and of course, who doesn't love black chick, white guy on Devil Without a Cause? It's like his epic. It was 9 minutes long. That's
his Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Pretty much, autobiographical story. The man's a storyteller. I recommend it. And another one of my probably my favorite song on that album is "I Got One For You."
Great song, yeah,
incredible.
Somebody's got to feel this. Devil Without a Cause. I mean, then of course all the radio hits and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I can't think of a dud on that album. So
it's saying a lot.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of polarizing. We'll get into that more. People are probably not agreeing necessarily, but I would challenge you to listen to that album if you can objectively. It's good shit. Great shit, actually.
Yeah, it's a great record from start to finish. I really like it. But the first time I heard Kid Rock, I played "I Am the Bull God" on the radio, and I thought, this sounds like Rage Against the Machine. I don't really hate it. I don't love it. I kind of, I like it. But like I said, as soon as I heard Bow to Bow, I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Well, when he opened his Woodstock set with that song, I mean, get out of here. If you're into any kind of majesty of big time rock and you can't appreciate that, then it's the same thing with the slams on Gene Simmons. You can't get past your preconceptions, but that is the epitome of how to open a rock and roll set and just whip a crowd into frenzy.
Didn't he have a full-length white fur coat on too?
Probably,
with that?
Yeah. He had Joe C with him back in the day. So.
Yeah, Joe C name dropped in this song too, but now he pretty much closes out the shows with that song.
With Bow with the Bow? Oh, no, that's cool. Yeah. Got to mix it up, I guess.
Yep, and you hear all the bombs and everything going off and the pyro and stuff. It's great. I don't think there's a guy I've seen more in the last 20 years than Kid Rock or a band or whatever. I mean, I've seen Steel Panther a ton, but it's like Kid Rock is probably up there. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen him in the last 20 years.
Does he still have the Twisted Brown Trucker band? Is it the same
yeah.
band?
Couple of the guys, Jason Krause, his guitar player, and guys like that have been with them from the beginning. Some of the guys have been with them for the last 15 years. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. He's and on the businessman tip, he understands how to give people their money's worth, and he knows that when you do that, you get it back tenfold.
Right.
So, all right, let's move ahead.
Dab from the city of truth. I jabbed and stabbed and knocked critics back, and I did not stutter when I said that. I'm going platinum, selling rhymes. I went platinum 7 times.
Live, does he update that number to the accurate amount?
Yeah, I think he does. I know for a fact he changes a couple of lyrics, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But no one's made mention yet. Of course, I talked about it when he texted me about that. But that Metallica riff in the background is just so killer.
Wow. Yeah. And here's one of the things that people rip on him about. Mainly, it happened with the All Summer Long tune, which was hugely popular. But they also rip on hip hop in general. But that is the very basis, which is I'm so cool that you got that text from him, because that is the basis of that genre. These guys created this music with albums that were available to them, took samples of it, created the drum beats, took the guitar riffs or whatever was working for them, put them in a loop, rhymed over it, and there's the birth of hip-hop. And he is definitely in tune with that. Clueless white people in subsequent years have been like, oh, you can't steal somebody else's music, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, okay, then let's go to court, let's settle it, you get your share of the money. But this is the very basis of that genre.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. It's how it's always worked. I mean, all the friggin' white motherfuckers who went ballistic about, oh, he's stealing from Skynyrd and Warren Zevon. It's the mashup that he put together for that song was brilliant. And, and the success was commensurate with that. I mean, it was just hugely popular, and to have the imagination to put that together that's legitimate creativity and art there.
And you know what's funny? That seems to be something. What you just said, the mashup of those two songs, because the first thing you were talking about was just like the genesis of hip hop, but you said the thing about mashing up two songs that fit together and mesh together. That's a trend now where you see videos on social media all the time where it's like, oh, this guy took this Kiss song and this Commodore's song and mashed them together, and and they're getting like millions of views, and everyone's passing those around. So
the one I love, well, I shouldn't say I love, but it's almost a little sacrilegious, is the one with Slayer and Wham.
They're all great, man. Even when they're ridiculous. I forgot what that guy's name is who does the majority of the ones that are taking off, but they're all done so well where you're like, this can't be good together, and then you listen to it and you're like, I'll be damned, he did it again. This works, and it's funny, or it's just good, or whatever it is, but it meshes together well.
It takes imagination and creativity, and people gravitate towards it, and not all of his stuff is like that. A lot of the stuff that we mentioned from the first album it's completely original, but then he goes back to the roots of hip hop, and this was how it's done. It's how it's still done. Why? What's the point of getting upset about it?
People tend to forget, but in that song, "Wasting Time," it's the background is the Fleetwood Mac song, the news, what's that? Yeah,
secondhand news.
Secondhand news. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's just how it's done in that genre, and if you want to use that as an excuse to bash the genre, go ahead. But he's staying true to that style of music, and I'm glad. I think it's great that you got that text from him about it, because I think a lot of people still don't get it. They just think, oh, he can't come up with anything original, so he has to steal stuff from other people. And that's not it. This is an original interpretation of it.
Yeah.
It's just clueless white people popping off at the mouth. Something we have to deal with in this day and age.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
Still they're ill and wanna see us ride. I guess because only God knows why. They call me cowboy, I'm a singer in black. So throw a finger in the air, let me see where you're at. Say, hey, hey. Let me hear where you're at. Say, hey, hey. I'm giving it back, so say, hey, hey. Show me some metal and say, hey, 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 hey.
All right, yeah, I mean, just full octane, and like it said in the text, again, such a cool element to have at our disposal for this episode. But, what did he say? He needed a hit. Well, he created one. I remember this being a huge hit for him that kind of kept the momentum going of Devil Without a Cause, and then he put out a few albums that were successful, and then he just with All Summer Long, he just went through the roof again, and he's been there ever since, pretty much.
Yeah, and I just listened to this song before. I never really thought about it, but this verse here, the chorus there, it's like this song was like just created for the live stage.
Yeah. It works perfectly live. The whole hey thing with the crowd chanting that with you.
Yeah, and as I recall, the video involved a lot of women in American flag bikinis and whatnot, shaking their asses into the screen.
Can't really be mad about that.
No, and that's something else he's in tune with. He knows how to sell his product in that way, which, as we talk about all the time on this podcast, is something that's sadly gone out of favor.
Yeah, and then Ron Jeremy was in that video too. And I remember going to the Grammys in 2009, and Kid Rock is playing on stage and stuff, and Ron Jeremy's sitting right behind me. He's like, "Hey, text Kid Rock and tell him I want to come backstage." I was like, "Dude, you're freaking Ron Jeremy, man. You're in one of his videos. You text him."
That's funny. He apparently he lost Ron Jeremy's number, huh?
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Or he didn't want somebody backstage who had sucked his own dick at one point on screen. That could get uncomfortable. But, I mean, how did it feel to be in close proximity to the hedgehog?
Yeah, well, I'd met him a few times, but he was there with what's his name, Dennis Hoff, I think, from the Bunny Ranch.
Oh yeah.
And he was sitting right behind me, so I guess I had better seats than the hedgehog. So there's that.
Now he's a short guy too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not that. Yeah, he's not that tall. I don't know. Maybe 5'8". Maybe I don't know. So
what a guy,
the
Ron
hedgehog.
Jeremy. Yeah,
he had that resurgence around that. I don't know. I guess around this time, late '90s, early 2000s, and then you really don't hear much from him anymore.
Oh, Jesus, he's got to be in the 70s now.
I'm sure he's willing, though.
Oh, of course he is. But, I mean, is the public willing to consume that?
Yeah, I don't know.
think so.
I don't know.
Everybody has their line that they draw, and I think he's crossed it. He definitely crossed it for me when he sucked his own dick in that one video. I was like, okay, I can't watch this guy ever again.
that one video that scarred me for life as a child. So.
Yeah, I appreciate the dexterity, but that's about it. I don't ever want to see anything like that again.
Yeah, this is taking a turn for the worse. I think we should just let Kid Rock name drop here.
Yeah, let's move ahead.
That's what happens when we have too much space here. Let's go back to the music.
Fuck all y'all. I like AC/DC and ZZ Top. Bocephus Beasties and the Kings of Rock. Skinner, Seeger, Limp, Corn, the Stones. David Allen Coe with No Show Jones. Yeah.
No Show Jones, George Jones? Is that a nickname for George Jones? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he would get drunk and not show up at shows.
Oh, that's a great name. I didn't realize that was his reputation.
Yeah.
No Show Jones.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's going to commandeer that. Well, we could commandeer it for Nick.
Yeah.
Since
there's an empty seat over here.
Yeah. He's pretty much, again, rattling off all the guys he appreciates. And I think you'll find in general, and you know this better than us, but guys who are known for one type of music are generally pretty well-rounded in their musical taste. They appreciate stuff from the whole spectrum, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think about this sometimes. I've talked about it too. It's like, name another artist that can go to the, hip hop awards, can go to, Kerrang, go pretty much any music show and kind of be, not out of place. You know what I'm saying? That's Kid Rock. He can do all of this stuff.
Well, in the country, crossing over to the country world. I mean, the country world is basically your late 80s, early 90s arena rock, hair metal scene, just packaged differently. But in terms of being able to sell out arenas and attract actual women to the shows, like attractive women, it's the new country scene, so to speak, has commandeered that whole thing. So, I mean, for that reason alone, rock fans should like it,
Yeah, no, and him name dropping these guys, that's another staple of certain things in that genre of music that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Also just that verse, especially where he's naming like AC/DC, ZZ Top, and Beasties, King of Rock, everyone else. That really reminds me of growing up in Hammond. That's like Kid Rock, even though he's from Detroit, is like the epitome of where I grew up. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. From wherever a certain type of town that you grew up in.
Yeah.
This just makes me think of like hanging out at the bowling alley and the arcade where I grew up, and like the people you'd run into and what music was being played in there. This is like I always thought like Kid Rock would just show up at that bowling alley one day because he fit in so perfectly.
Yeah, every time he plays in Buffalo at the outdoor shed about 10 minutes from where I grew up, I always go, and he always takes care of me with tickets and whatnot. And I've introduced him to so many of my high school friends and stuff, and it's a thrill for me to take them to go meet him because they go to work 9 to 5 and, whatever, and their sucky jobs and what have you. And here they are meeting Kid Rock, and they can't believe it. And he's just that guy that, that everybody can kind of appreciate. Because I grew up in a small town. Did you say, Andy, you grew up in a small town?
No, it's a city, but it's a smaller city that's, I don't know. What would you even classify? I don't want to say anything too insulting, but it's not like it's not an upper class city.
It's a blue, I mean, Kid Rock technically grew up in Taylor, right?
No, he grew up in Romeo.
Okay, Romeo. For some reason I thought Taylor, but
and the Romeo. Yeah, his dad was a car dealer.
Right. Okay.
But he has that like kind of a little bit of a small town feel to him. And when I take my friends and stuff to meet him, I mean that place he plays out in Buffalo is one of the sheds out there, and it's out in the middle of it's really small town where that place is. And, I see a lot of people that I went to school with or I know at those shows because they all appreciate it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's an artist for the people, basically. He's
right.
Seriously, he's I don't know if about this comparison, but you can file him easily as a modern day Seeger, Springsteen, John Cougar, just
that's a good one.
Appealing to that demographic. It's right in that wheelhouse, and those people love when artists resonate with what they're dealing with on a daily basis, and he's still $20 tickets. You're not paying $200 to go see Kid Rock and blowing your whole paycheck.
Yeah, no, you could, but
you don't have to.
No, he does the $20 tickets. And I'll tell you what, man, that's been really a great model. I've argued about that for a long time. It's like why would you want to sell tickets for $200 a piece when you can, and have a half-empty arena or whatever, or just sell them cheap, pack the place, sell merchandise and beer, and have a party? I don't know.
It makes sense to me. I don't know.
Well, it makes sense to Kid Rock.
Makes sense
He's
to Kid
doing
Rock.
pretty well
so
for himself.
something's going on. There's something to it. But I was gonna say, I'm sure it's genuine what you said about like the modern John Cougar kind of thing. I'm sure it's genuine, but I also think it's probably no mistake, right? That he saw, there's an opening for this. I could get in on this. These types of people are loyal types of music fans, and I could get in on that. Because,
I don't get that vibe from him, to be quite honest with you. I think that really he wears his heart on his sleeve, and what he does, he really likes, and that's where he is at that time when he's writing those records or whatever the case is. I don't think that anything he's ever done per se was contrived because he saw an opening there. That's the vibe I get.
Okay.
I could be totally wrong, but I see what you're saying, but I don't see it that way from just hanging out with them and stuff like that. We'll go, I've been to his house before, and he's played me songs, and he's done different things or whatever, and it's like nothing. He's never said to me, people are going to love this, or the Skinner crowd is going to love this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the guy. I'm just talking out of my ass. But my point was like basically Devil Without a Cause, that era, and he had a lot to do with it, but that type of music where you're mashing like metal and rock was popular. And as that dwindled, he kind of changed with the times. But that doesn't mean he's not totally into what he's doing. He wasn't still doing like rap metal.
Well, I always kind of got the impression from him that he he didn't want to be that 50-year-old guy. I know for a fact he hates the name Kid Rock. And whenever I introduce him to someone, he always calls himself Bobby. He's like, "Hey, I'm Bobby. How you doing?" He always says that. And I think that as he got older and stuff, he kind of wanted. I heard you guys talking last week, and it's funny because you guys had the guy, and you guys were doing the Rod Stewart song.
Yeah.
And you're saying how like people like grow up and their music talent, their music taste kind of change a little bit. And I started thinking about that. You know what I'm really into right now, and I'm starting to kind of almost discover, is the thrash scene from the Bay Area.
Oh, really?
It's like I'm 50, and it's like I'm kind of just discovering this. So it's I'm starting to really get into it.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
And rock kind of seems, as he got older, kind of like to mellow a little bit. He didn't know if he could do Ball Out of Ball for his whole career.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, all the greats who had any kind of longevity have reinvented themselves to some degree over the years.
Right.
I mean,
some successful, some not.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to soften it, but you do. You can't. Not everybody can be AC/DC and put out the same album every few years and have it be wildly successful and just keep doing great creative takes on the same formula.
Right.
And he's definitely in tune with that. And tapping into the country world is a master stroke on his part.
I think he's got a lot of friends in the country world. Obviously, he just named drop Bocephus, Hank Jr. and different things. And, just David Allan Coe and all these guys. And I think that, first of all, I think he likes it. And and second of all, when he's around all these guys, I think it really rubbed off on him.
That makes sense, yeah. And, the other thing that just popped into my head, one of the reasons why I was like, all right, I like Kid Rock, is when he was in Joe Dirt.
Right.
Like his whole performance, it's funny. He's good in that.
I think he told me one time that Def Leppard line he just made up on the fly.
Did he really? That's one of the best parts of the movie. So there you go. Yeah. I forgot about that. That was great. Yeah. Was he in Joe Dirt too? I never saw that movie.
I don't think I didn't even know there was a Joe Dirt 2.
Yeah, so okay, I saw that Joe Dirt 2 was on Comedy Central one day, and I was like, oh man, I didn't know they made this. And I looked at the description, and it said something about time travel, and I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah,
Joe Dirt traveling through time, nah. They've gone too far with this.
Yeah, it's like the Bill and Ted thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, let's dig into it a little more.
That bottle around, got the rock from Detroit, soul from Motown, the underground stone, fucking pimp with tracks that Mac and slap back the whack. Never gain away, I don't play with ass, but watch me rock with Liberace flash, punk rock the class, boy bands are trash. I like Johnny Cash and Grand
boy bands were hot at the time, so he had to let everyone know boy bands are trash.
Yeah, some pretty good lines coming out right there.
Yeah. I like the line where he said, I'll just read the whole verse. Why not? Never get in the way. I don't play with that. But watch me rock with Liberace Flash.
All right, first of all, it's never gay, no way I don't play with ass. So you're reading the edited version.
Really?
Like. Yeah.
What? Okay. Yeah, I guess
Am I right, Chris?
I think so. I mean, yeah, and that's not the PC take that
wow,
that would be insisted upon nowadays. So yeah, that's pretty bold lyric in there.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Then of course, more name dropping with the Clash and Johnny Cash and Grandmaster Flash. Three totally different bands from three totally different genres and eras.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, also mentioning Liberace.
Yeah.
That's after that previous line. Even more bold.
Yeah. Nowadays, we would call that toxic masculinity, hate speech, who knows. But this is a relic from 2000. Can you believe this song's almost 20 years old already?
Man.
Craziness. The Twin Towers were still standing when this shit came out.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I was about to get married in a couple months. My daughter wasn't even born yet. Now she's graduating high school next month, so yeah.
You got married in 2000?
I got married on July 4th in 2000 because I am an American.
Oh, well,
I love that.
Go. Yeah, I got married in February 19th of 2000. So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
and they said it wouldn't last.
In fact, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Despite my best efforts to get thrown out, it hasn't happened. I actually remember listening to Devil Without a Cause on the way to my rehearsal dinner.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's when I really fell in love with I Got One For You. It's a great song, man. That's my favorite
song to dissect.
Yes. Not my favorite Kid Rock song, though. I'll reveal that a little later.
Okay. But didn't you say it was your favorite from Devil Without a Cause?
It's up there. I would say yes.
So there's a song not on Devil Without a Cause that's your favorite.
Correct.
Kid Rock. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, nice little teaser for later. Let's keep it rolling.
They call me cowboy. I'm a singer with black. So throw a finger in the air. Let me see where you're at. Say, hey, hey. Let me hear where you're at. Say, hey, hey. I'm giving it back. So say, hey, hey. Show me some metal and say, hey, 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 hey.
Yeah, I saw your band jumping around on stage like a bunch of wounded ducks. When you gonna learn, sucker? You just can't fuck with.
See, now that's something else I appreciate is the sort of the competitive nature of not only hip hop but rock bands who. There's a brotherhood there, but also if you're if you're sharing a bill with a band, you really want to go out there and wipe the stage with them, So there's that competitiveness that, in general, competition brings the best out of you. And just kind of having that confidence and that sort of shit-talking attitude is pretty refreshing to hear. I'm not sure you get that out of fucking Arcade Fire, So some pussies hanging around like, oh yeah, great set, you can all this. I don't even know how to express it, but it's just like the attitude that was just conveyed in the Kid Rock song is just not something that you tend to see nowadays from the alternative scene.
Yeah, I think this goes back to his upbringing in Detroit. And, like I was talking about before, he would have to flyer and he'd have to do all this stuff. And he wanted to go out there and prove himself. And he started out slow and, in smaller clubs, smaller venues. And when he finally started to make it and stuff, it's like, okay, now I'm really going to put the pedal down and let's see what I can do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he, like you said, he wants to destroy all the other acts around there. He wants to be one of the best that there is. And He is good. I mean, he puts on a great show. I can honestly say I've never seen a bad Kid Rock show.
No, I can't imagine it. I mean, he's not going to phone it in. He's not going to cut corners on the production. You're gonna get your money's worth, and that's something that his demographic appreciates, and they can sense that he's all about that. Not that it's difficult to sense it. He is all about that. Now, do we know what this is a sample from or a lift from? Is it just other Metallica tunes?
I don't think it is. I think that's just his band playing. That's what I've always thought. It doesn't sound like anything to me. This is just like maybe a middle filler or something like that. I don't know. Then he gets right back into it.
Yeah.
It sounds like Ministry to me, but I don't think it actually is. But that style.
Yeah. Because I just, when you said that he put this whole thing together in his bedroom, I don't know, I guess maybe he dropped in some recordings that he had of Twisted Brown Trucker doing this type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but this song kills live, like I was saying before. I mean, this song is, Jason, the guitar player, is a really good friend of mine, and he's a metal guy and stuff, and I'm sure this is probably one of his favorite songs to play throughout the night.
Well, and like you said, the sad but true riff is just devastating, Yeah. I'm sure you remember when the immediate aftermath of when the Black Album came out, and that's another album that's polarizing. You've got your Metallica fans who are like, oh, they sold out, blah, blah, blah. But, what a massive smash hit that was. And, the songs that came out before it were huge, but then Sad But True came into the consciousness. Obviously, if you bought the album and listened to it, you heard it, but eventually it came out as a single and a video, and you're just like, this is just a devastating riff, and to commandeer it like this is, again, a brilliant move on his part. And also to package it in the whole American badass type thing. I mean, that's going to resonate with people. It's just a match made in heaven for cashing in and putting out a successful piece of, which is exactly what he was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Chris would remember this because he wasn't a wrestling fan. I don't know if you are, Meltdown, but
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, okay. In this era, The Undertaker changed his persona from like the almost cartoonish Undertaker, dead man character, to a guy who rode a bike to the ring with like a bandana and his hair slicked back, and this was his entrance music.
Yeah.
So extra points for that.
Yeah.
Associating with The Undertaker. Well, Undertaker probably heard this and was like, all right, I'm changing everything to make it work with this song.
Yeah, Rock's worked a few times with WWE.
Yeah.
To piggyback on your thing about the Metallica thing, though, it's like, for every 3 Metallica fans that said that they'd sold out, there was about 20 of them that went and bought that record. So, and I played Enter Sandman. I was on the radio when that record came out. I was, fresh in the radio. And I remember hosting a listening party for that Metallica record, and the record company brought it to us at this bar, which was like kind of like a Cheers type bar where you walk downstairs and you walk into this bar.
Yeah.
You could not shoehorn another person in that bar that night. There were people outside on the street listening to this record, and after every song ended, everyone cheered.
Wow.
That's how big that and the anticipation for that Black record was.
Yeah, and to all the fucking dickheads who always come out and say shit like, oh, they sold out and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the next time your boss offers you a raise, turn it down because you're selling out. You should just be, slumming around in poverty for the rest of your life. You don't need that extra money. You're selling out. Turn down the raise. In fact, tear up your next paycheck. Put it in the shredder. this money is corrupting you. You're selling out. Refuse the paycheck next time you're offered one. You'll be way more legit that way. What a stupid fucking attitude. I mean, give me a break. You know, eventually people want to be successful. They want to enjoy the finer things in life. And if you can do that via music, you've got it above 99.9% of the population. And then to have some of these jackasses turn around and criticize you for that, so stupid.
Yeah, it's like the guy, you know, eating Cheetos on the on his couch watching somebody fall down in a race or something. Like, what a loser.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I get the criticisms, and like you're not going to like everything, but the whole selling out, like you lose your credibility if you try to do anything commercial. It's ridiculous.
But isn't a big part of that, doesn't it come from, like, if let's say you're into this band that's underground, quote unquote, and you love this band, and then they tweak a few things, and now like, say you're like a high school kid or something, and now like everyone that you don't like at your high school now listens to your favorite band. Isn't that where a lot of like backlash comes from? That's a scenario that I would remember from being that age. Where you're like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to like what I like. Now I don't like that anymore because you're a dickhead.
Yeah,
and that's an immature attitude. But I'm just saying, I think
and everybody likes to have their like little discoveries.
Yeah.
It's like I know something cool that nobody else does, and then suddenly everybody knows about it.
Yeah,
and it's not as cool.
Yeah,
but to lambaste the musicians for wanting to enjoy some money.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on.
You don't hold yourself to that standard.
Exactly
just
right.
the artists you
exactly
like.
Right. The whole selling out is such horse shit, and the criticizing Kid Rock for going down the country road. It's a fucking masterstroke. I mean, that's where the money is. That's where the good times are too.
I always like to tell people, it's like, you know, the guys from Nickelback are probably one of the most, berated sellouts. You know, we've, you know, in the last 20 years, you know, people will talk about them, until they're blue in the face. Last time they came through town and took my daughter, that show was sold out. That show was awesome. And those guys write hit songs. And while Chad Kroeger is sitting on his gold toilet, he doesn't care what anybody else thinks.
Exactly.
That's the thing I always think of about Nickelback. Like, you almost exclusively see negative things about Nickelback, like on the internet, like on Facebook or something.
Yet the arenas are packed.
The arenas are packed. Yeah. There's new music coming out that's selling well. They're doing fine, so people like them.
They're like the Joel Osteen and Benny Hinn of music. It's like, okay, I crack on these guys. I can't relate to anything about them. I think they're stealing money, blah blah blah. Yet they're filling arenas. There are large factions of people who are consuming what these guys are putting out and having a good time doing it. And they don't give a fuck what some cynical jackass is saying about them on the internet. It's just, it doesn't impact them in any way.
Well, I think some of the lyrics coming up kind of maybe Rock might have a little bit of yeah, he might actually, you know, be telling people, hey, if you think I'm a sellout, well, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
I'm an American badass. Watch me kick. You can roll with rock or you can suck my dick. I'm a porno flick. I'm like Amazing Grace. I'm gonna fuck some hoes after I rock this place. Super fly, living double wide. Sidecar my glide so Josie can ride. Full sack to share, bringing flash and flare. Got the long hair, swinging middle finger in the air. Snakeskin suit, 65 Chappelle. See me ride and sit, hear the rebel yell. I won't live to tell. So if you do, give the next generation a big fuck you. Who knew I'd blow a black punk walk over? Said fuck high school, pissed on my diploma. Smell the aroma, check my hits. I know it stinks in here, cause I'm the shit.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot in there.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, that's a barrage of wonderful self-promotion right there.
I know for a fact, you were asking me about if he changes the lyrics. I know for a fact he says, I'm going to knock some hoes after I rock this place, which to me, changing that line is one of my favorite lines of any song he's ever written. And I asked him one time, I go, how come you always say knock some hoes? He goes, I don't know. Sometimes I look out there and there's like kids in the crowd.
Oh, okay. So he just censors it a little bit for.
Yeah, but he still doesn't censor certain things.
Yeah, like but suck my dick. Does he still come out with that?
Yeah, I think he might. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a family show.
I think he says suck it. He goes, suck it, like that,
Okay. Yeah, it all works. You still get the point.
Yeah. You can fill in the blanks if you're a man of the world like the three of us are, obviously.
Yeah. It is interesting. Chris said something earlier about how this is like a time capsule of 2000 and probably even before, but you wouldn't hear a lot of lyrics like this today.
No, you absolutely wouldn't. I mean, you might actually in the actual hip hop world.
Sure, yeah, that probably is.
But even that's being toned way down.
Yeah,
which I don't know. We talked about that, and obviously that we don't want crimes to be committed against anyone, but the shit you can depict in a movie without scrutiny, but if you sing a song about it, suddenly you're the devil incarnate.
Yeah, right.
I just never understood that disconnect. Part of what Kid Rock does, and like Meltdown was saying, is his stage moniker. It's all it's affixed to a brand and also a character. He has a persona. He portrays it, and part of that persona is reflected in the lyrics. And so you're telling me he can't go out and portray a character that advocates this stuff, but it's not how he feels as a person? He's not going out and actually doing these things? He's not R. Kelly, for Christ's sake. Or he might be, who knows? But
well, you never heard anything like that. Not on that level.
No, that's another thing. Has there ever been any kind of scandal around this guy or any nefarious behavior? I can't think of anything. I mean, he's been pretty much above board in terms of not being a menace to society,
Well, he is getting that big, huge middle finger put up at his property in Nashville.
I don't know about that. What's that about?
I guess that he got it. He's got this big middle finger made. He opened up this restaurant down in Nashville, and it's like Kid Rock's big ass country rockin' something, whatever. And the bottom of the guitar and the neon sign is shaped like a woman's ass, and of course, people are losing their minds over that. And Rock is the kind of guy that he'll give and give and give, and he gives a lot, without people even knowing about it, to charities and different things like that. And the Nashville people, the Nashville government and the city council and whatnot are kind of getting down on him a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on at his place. And I'm not sure if that's why the middle fingers is being installed on his property up there, but that's my guess.
It's just funny to say middle finger being installed on his property.
Yeah, and that's just civil disobedience. He's not committing crimes against people. He's not injuring people. He's not violating people. He's fucking with people, basically. And
right,
it's that whole rebellion is something else that's missing from a lot of rock and roll these days. We need it back.
Yeah, that line there too, pissed on my diploma, and where he talks about high school and whatnot. It's funny because he's got a picture that I've seen before. I think it's, if you Google it's on the internet somewhere. But he's actually receiving his diploma, and he's got his middle finger out as he says he's getting his diploma from his principal or whatever.
Really, when he's a high school kid, it's like a real photo.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So as he was receiving his photo, someone snapped a picture, and he's got a middle finger kind of down by his waist.
Looking it up right now.
All right. I don't know. If you find it, let me know, because I'm assuming you could probably Google it.
Okay, I will find it. Let's keep going here.
Shit! They call me cowboy. I'm a singer with black, so throw a finger in the air. Let me see where you're at. Say, hey, hey. Let me hear where you're at. Say, hey, hey. I'm giving it back, so say, hey, hey. Show me some better and say, hey, hey.
I like that at the end, Kid Rock's in the house, and that's where I'm at. Remember the other song, Where Are You At, Rock?
Yeah, that's another great one from Devil Without a Cause.
I remember interviewing James Hetfield in 2016, and it was funny because I texted Rock, and I'm like, hey, dude, give me something to talk to James about, because I know that they're friends and whatnot. And he says, ask him about the time he wrecked my, I guess, he was out on dirt bikes on Kid Rock's property or something while on tour. And I guess he ran through a fence. James Hetfield ran through one of Kid Rock's fences. And I said to him, and this kind of took James by surprise, I go, have you ever ridden a dirt bike through a fence at Kid Rock's house? And the look on his face, it's kind of funny because it's on the video. You can Google it on YouTube and whatnot, because we were videotaping the interview at the time.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I don't know where you heard that from.
There's only one person who knows that story.
Well, he told me, he goes, dude, he says it in the interview, he broke a rib or two or something while on tour.
Jeez.
And I don't know if you guys have ever cracked or broke a rib, but it's pretty painful. It's hard to breathe.
Yeah, and you gotta sing like he
right,
does.
And play guitar and all that stuff.
For
yeah,
3 hours like
Jeez.
they do. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that shit.
And did you find that picture?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. I'll have to dig deeper later. We'll find it. But hey, guys, it's time to vote. So you know how this goes. It's either Sweet Surrender or Kick in the Crotch. Meltdown, you brought the song to us today, so please vote first.
Well, I guess I'll have to do Sweet Surrender.
It's Sweet Surrender. Hell yes.
Okay, Sweet Surrender. How come? Give us a little bit. Give us a summary.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that's just one of those things where, like, just the whole mashup of the song. I mean, the song just rocks. The lyrics are cool. It's like there's a lot that goes into it. The name dropping. Like I said, when I first heard the song, I wasn't really sure if I was crazy about it, because it seemed like he was pigtailing off the back of what was successful with Devil Without a Cause. And over all these years, I mean, it didn't take long for me to really start to like it. The song's killer live in concert. The guys from Metallica gave their blessing to him to use it. And I just think it speaks to Detroit. It speaks to the American guy, and it's just an American badass song. So,
love it. Chris, your turn.
I will do Sweet Surrender as well.
It's Sweet Surrender. Hell yes.
I'm kind of with Meltdown in the fact that when I first heard this, it was a little too jingoistic for me. With the flag waving, chest beating sort of attitude is, I don't know, it's a little much for me at times. I mean, it's kind of, if I can make a comparison, it's like the Five Finger Death Punch, their cover of Bad Company, and the video is just that tribute to the military. It's like that's just too heavy-handed and pandering for me. So that was my initial reaction to it, but I did enjoy the video. Again, chicks in American flag bikinis, probably some guns visible as well.
Probably.
All
I
the
don't
things
know. If not, we can imagine that there would be.
That kind of pandering I'm fully on board with. So the video is definitely added to it. But listening, it's been years since I heard it, but, what's not to like about him, puffing his chest out and giving props to Detroit and, the crushing, sad but true riff. Out of context and with a little time, and with, Memorial Day coming up, we got a little advance tribute to America. I was digging it. And something else we talk about on the show is when we have somebody on, or when it was one of us who is really into a song, it rubs off on the other people, myself included, and that's totally what happened to me, because I, like you said, Meltdown, my initial reaction to it when it came out was like, It's okay. It's not anything as good as Devil Without a Cause. It's a little pandering to me, but as you were describing how it is in a live setting, I was just kind of picturing what it'd be like to be in an arena full of Kid Rock fans when this is going on, and if that energy doesn't rub off on you, then you shouldn't be there in the first place, probably.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the highlights of the show, for sure, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, my turn to vote. I'm also going to give it a Sweet Surrender.
It's Sweet Surrender. Hell yes.
Chris summed it up pretty well for me, too, where I think I haven't heard this song in a long time, and I haven't listened to Kid Rock in a long time. I really don't even remember the last time, because like I said, my oldest brother Jay was into Kid Rock, during that late 90s, early 2000s when he first was, Devil Without a Cause era, and a little bit before then. So I don't even know how he would have seen him otherwise. Was it like an Ozfest or something that he was on before Devil Without a Cause?
I think so. And I also remember on MTV they had it was either a single documentary or a series of episodes chronicling his tour with Limp Bizkit, which is why I asked, because I know Jay is a fan of them.
Okay.
And they did a tandem tour in the late 90s.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think this is it's the right time for you picked this song on a right day for me to be into it, because I've just been complaining about how snobby people have been on social media lately, and how annoyed I've been at people acting like they can't like anything that's not fitting into a certain box. Like, oh, well, that's, I can't like that because I like this art rock stuff, so I can't relate. You know what I mean? Like, you can't cross over to something else that you feel for whatever reason, even though it's totally unwarranted, is beneath you or something. Like, oh, I turn my nose down at Kid Rock because I like this. It's like, you can like everything. And if you listen to this and the conversation we just had, I challenge you to find a reason why you don't like this. That isn't just like, oh, well, I want to maintain this fake persona of myself where I'm some highfalutin snob of rock music.
Right, and it works both ways. It's like there's rock guys who, and even Kid Rock was like it in the song, he can't be revealed to like any boy band music, because that would kill his credibility.
That's true too.
I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. It's one of the greatest songs of all time of any genre. Song gives me goosebumps.
Okay.
We can disagree, and that's great, but I'm not ashamed to say it. And something we talked about guilty pleasures. I get the moniker so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like,
there shouldn't be any. You shouldn't be guilty about anything you enjoy.
Yeah,
or worse, be afraid to admit it because you don't want somebody to think, less of you for liking it. It just
I think that's a big part of it. Like, oh well, I'm in, whether it's your group of friends or whatever, however you want to put yourself out there in the world, that you think, oh, I can't like this because that'll take away from the efforts I'm putting towards being this person or whatever it is, Yeah. It's just stupid.
It is. So
I don't know.
Well, I think the older you get, the less you care about it. I was telling you guys, I got back into vinyl a couple of years ago, and some of the stuff that I'm listening to now, I never would have thought, that I would even get into. And it's like, I can't tell you how many Supertramp records I've listened to lately.
No.
It's like I never listened to them very much, and all of a sudden now I'm like hooked. Jeff Tate from Queensryche tells me one time about Yes, and now I went down this gigantic Yes rabbit hole. It's like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're killing me with the Supertramp. I guess you're getting back at me with the Backstreet Boys mention of that. But I mean,
we are talking out of both sides of our mouths here. But
we all have preferences.
Sure.
But, I can't guarantee I won't think less of Meltdown for liking Supertramp. I'll try to rise above it. But
hey, Crime of the Century is a pretty solid effort, I have to admit.
We're gonna just you listen to that, I'll listen to Backstreet Boys, and we'll both be content in our own little worlds.
Everyone will be happy.
But yeah, I mean, so much great stuff came out in the 70s, and like you said, you go down a rabbit hole with it. But you like what you like, you listen to what you listen to.
Yeah, I've kind of like rediscovered some of this stuff, because I was never really that guy. But I think that, listen, you guys know as well as anybody that music takes you to certain places. And I think that sometimes when I hear a Supertramp or a Yes or something, it reminds me of, growing up at, working overnights after graduating high school and hearing the overnight DJ play And You and I from Yes, so they could go, smoke outside or something for 10 minutes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It kind of takes you back to different places. And that's kind of, I think that's why I never really got into that stuff before. And now I hear it now as a 50-year-old, and I'm like, oh yeah, this kind of takes me back a little bit. So, and
that's kind of, I was sort of hinting on that with this song earlier, that kind of took me back to being like, I mean, it wasn't even out then, but like a 12-year-old boy. Like, this is the kind of, I don't know, the attitude maybe, or like the vibe of growing up where I did. So it kind of took me back to that while we were listening to it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think if there's anything like this that's really come out recently where you remember when we were kids, like, Ozzy was pissing off everybody, and Alice Cooper, and then later on Manson would come around and piss off people, and there'd be protests and this and the other thing. I'm trying to think of when there was really a protest or parents up in arms over music.
I don't know about parents, but we've read some things about Ghost, but I almost feel like that's not as serious as other protests from the past.
No.
Yeah, you guys did Square Hammer a few episodes ago, and I really like that song, and I listened to it, and you guys were talking a little bit about that, and that's like that's one of those things. I'm not sure if Ghost really rises to the level of annoying parents or having people test, but
I don't think so. I know they did a thing here, and it has actually nothing to do with the band, but there's this hamburger restaurant in Chicago that names their burgers after different metal bands, and they did a Ghost burger, and it had a communion wafer on it, and some kind of like goat meat on the top or something. It was like all this, and then like a red wine sauce or something. So it was like,
yeah, really, pushing all the buttons.
Yeah,
there.
but that was like a big deal. It was on the news and stuff, and people, I don't know if there was protesting outside of the restaurant or anything, but it was like, oh, whoever from the Diocese of Chicago is demanding that they remove this from their menu. So that was kind of a big deal that got headlines, but it's not the same thing where it's like the local church is protesting outside of the venue or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. On one of my recent podcasts, I interviewed Dee Snider for an hour in front of a live audience, and it was really killer. And he was talking about, the PMRC and all this other kind of stuff. And that was kind of interesting. You remember back in those days when back in the 80s and stuff, and it's like, those people were going bananas over all that, over all the rock bands, the Twisted Sisters and the Motley Crue's of the world.
Yeah. And Dee Snider, I mean, I think people don't give him enough credit for that, the way he conducted himself in that situation.
Well, and plus that was during the era where he had filed his teeth into fangs, and he's got, these painted on jeans and the big, permed out hair, and he pretty much just, which isn't difficult to do for anybody who's got half a brain, but he just dressed down these friggin' politician morons who are, have their heads up their asses, and it's pretty brilliant. And John Denver did the same thing.
Yeah.
Total opposite spectrum.
Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was the other one in there.
Those were incredible times, And you're right. There's not that kind of danger out there. Nobody's really pushing buttons on that level. Maybe because it's all been done. We've seen it all before. What could be shocking anymore? Who knows?
On one hand, you said nothing could be shocking, but like, I feel like people are more offended now by language than they ever have been. If you just pick all the words that you're not supposed to say and put them in songs, I'm not suggesting you do this, but I'm saying if someone did this, people would be outraged
Yeah,
by this.
but they're offended, and you know what they do? They fire off a comment on social media, and then they go back to binge watching some fucking streaming TV show. That's their idea of protest. They're not going out and shutting down a music show,
and it's a Netflix show that uses all of those words,
exactly.
But it's the bad guy using them.
Right.
So it's
but it's a TV show or a movie. So the people who wrote that and are writing about all manner of grisly violence,
right?
Oh, they're just playing a role.
Yeah.
But the band that does it, they've got to be strung up by the nearest street light.
Yeah, it's
I
ridiculous.
never understood that dichotomy, but. Anyway, I think we got to get to the next round of voting.
We do, don't we? Oh my gosh, 3 sweet surrenders. Who would have thought?
After the day Meltdowns had, can we generate a boner out of him? I mean, he's 50 years old, for Christ's sake.
And it's been a long day.
We've actually had this discussion on text. It's like, the boners are not as forthcoming as they used to be.
I don't know who you're texting back and forth with, but that wasn't me. You were
That
texting.
might have been
me.
Jericho, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, But we were talking maybe not boner specifically, but we were talking about like your aches and pains, your pissing all through the night, and that's what happens when you turn your 50s.
Can we rewind it for a second? I love the idea that there's a text conversation between 2 men in their 50s, and it says the boners are not as forthcoming.
Well, I'm paraphrasing.
I know, but it's a hilarious text to receive.
There was one exchange, again, not boner specific, but we were venting about the challenges of you can't stay out until 4 a.m. anymore,
right?
And you got shit to do, and you got to get your rest. Basically.
I remember one night, and I won't get too much into this story, but I just saw him the other day. As a matter of fact, Dave Coulier, you guys know him, right?
Yeah.
So I've known Dave for like 20 years, but one night after a Kid Rock show at Comerica Park, I ended up leaving a hotel room after the party with Kid Rock and Dave Coulier, who we woke up and told him to come over to the party. And
great combination.
And what?
It's a great combination.
Yeah.
Unexpected combination. I like where this is going.
Yeah, I think I left the hotel room at 7 a.m.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel for you. You're probably still recovering from that day.
I've done a lot of since then, but
okay.
Yeah, and the last time we hung out with Jericho, I mean, we staggered out of that hotel room and the sun was coming up.
Yeah.
It's like I was destroyed for a week after that.
He was trying to open hotel doors.
Yeah,
remember
with
that?
his feet.
Not our room, other rooms.
Yes, with his with both feet in the air. So you can do the math on that one.
Yeah.
I think you sent me a picture of that one.
Yeah, it was a good time, but I was wrecked for a week, and I didn't even have a sip of alcohol. It's just the fucking lack of sleep. So anyway, looping back around, let's see if we can get this 50-year-old man who's had a full day into a state of arousal at this stage of the night.
All right, let's
I
do
didn't
it.
think this was part of the deal, but all right, whatever.
That's what it's a public service. Consider it
Gotcha.
that.
All right, Hammond, I got a question for you.
Ooh, Paul Stanley wants to know if Kid Rock's American Badass is a rock and roll boner classic, as voted by the 3 rock and roll boners on today's program.
Now we always let the remote guest start the voting when we get to this stage. So I'm assuming you think it is what Andy just described. So what you would do is you would say the word rock. Then I'll go next, and I would continue to say either roll or no boner, and then Andy would say boner or no boner, and see how it turns out.
Boner or no boner. I remember that was a show Howie Mandel hosted on NBC. Didn't last very long.
Yeah, blowing up a balloon with his nose, I think.
I guess I got to say rock. I mean, What are you gonna say?
All right.
Is your vote in, Andy?
Yeah. My vote's in. Okay. So, Meltdown says rock.
I'm gonna say roll.
I'm going to say boner.
And he got it! It's a rock and roll ball, yeah. Are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? I am. Get it right.
I feel like this is going to be a controversial decision among our listeners.
It is, and I think the other trend that the listeners are kind of not too enthused about is one of the things they liked about when we were doing the Kiss catalog is when we got a shitty song that we hated. Those were more entertaining episodes, but when we have the guest on and they pick a song, generally they're going to pick something they like.
And that's what we did, too, when we were doing the rotating thing. We're picking songs we like.
Right, which is why we're going to go random moving ahead, but just to get a little more variety, who knows. But to repeat what I said earlier, when somebody brings a song to the table and they're clearly into it, it rubs off on the other people. And, at least does for us, and we get on board with it. So
yeah. Like I said, I think this is going to be controversial to listeners, which it is what it is.
I think a lot of listeners are going to see the title of it, and they're not going to listen. Kind of like what Meltdown did with the LL Cool J episode.
There you go.
Which is actually the episode that ended Nick. So, I mean, it's worth a listen for that alone.
It ended him.
He never came back after
That's
that
true.
episode.
You could put it that way.
But
I may have to go revisit.
But, it's, I don't know. People say that it's not really the song that matters, it's the banter. So hopefully they'll listen, because this has definitely been a very great conversation.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mean that it's going to be like unanimous or even the majority, but I think there will be people who are going to be surprised by this. I think a lot of people will be on the same page as us as well, but I do think it'll be split. This is polarizing.
Well, and Kid Rock is in general. And the other reason I didn't want to shoot it down is I'm hoping Kid Rock actually listens to this episode.
Well, you can't think that way.
I can think any way I want. All these things factor into your decision.
Well, then you're lying to everyone.
I'm not lying to anyone. I mean, I wasn't a slam dunk. It wasn't a pointing at the sky, throbbing erection for me, but it was definitely something that I could do work with.
You can get down to business.
Yeah, there are different stages there. I will reveal now that my favorite Kid Rock song by a long shot is Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, there you go.
That song fucking rocks.
What album is that from?
From the self-titled album.
I don't know that one. I don't think I do, at least. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you got problems with the hip hop slant of his or the country slant of his, and you're a rocker, go listen to Jackson, Mississippi, and tell me you're not into that tune. That tune fucking kicks ass.
Yeah,
great guitar work by Kenny Olson. He's still around Detroit, right?
Actually, he's in Nashville.
Okay, but he's like working, producing. Doing
he plays gigs here and there and does some certain things. A lot of guys know him. He's in the kind of the guitar playing loop and whatnot. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but I should give him a text or a call. He's one of these guys who's you probably run across guys like this whose voicemails are constantly full. And that you leave voicemails really anymore, but back in the day, his voicemail was constantly full.
So you couldn't
he doesn't empty them out.
Yeah, so you couldn't even leave him one if you wanted to.
No.
Right.
But Kenny's still around doing stuff.
Good. Yeah. All right. Well, you want to, in keeping with the discussion of short people, let's have the diminutive Paul Anka put the rubber stamp on this baby.
That's just the fucking way it is.
Another man of slight stature who would bury you if you crossed him. One Paul Anka.
Yep.
So, You got enough energy for a quick round of questions, or?
I'm ready, man. I got hockey at 7:30 a.m., but I'm ready to go. I want to see what this is all about, so I'm ready to answer some questions.
So you actually playing?
I play. Yeah. When I got married 19 years ago, I told my wife, I said, listen, I play hockey and I ride Harley Davidsons. Those are my things. And to this day, that's exactly what I do.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's great. I got another buddy of mine that lives in the Detroit area. He's a goalie. Still plays every week.
Does men's leagues. Or whatever. Yeah.
I play in the morning with guys, pickup guys. Some guys that have played in the NHL. Some guys have played in college and stuff. It's fun. I like it. It gets me out of the house and get the kids off to school, go play hockey, come home, sometimes take a nap, then go to work.
Play every day?
I do it like 4 times a week during the week.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like once every couple weeks. Wow.
Oh, no, I play a lot.
See, that's another thing. Detroit compared to Chicago. Detroit is a hockey town. Fucking Chicago is a poser scene since the Blackhawks got good.
Yeah.
Detroit, you got people actually playing the game in large numbers. I mean, it's just that doesn't happen like it does in Detroit. It's part of the culture of the city, and Buffalo too. I mean,
yeah. Well, I grew up playing in Buffalo, but then my son has 2 games tomorrow. He's got 2 games on Saturday. All this stuff, and then Gary Holt's coming in town. I'm supposed to host a thing with him on Saturday and Slayer on Sunday night. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on this weekend.
It's a busy week, man.
Well, let's breeze through this.
Yeah.
This man isn't getting any younger.
All right,
marvel.
Well, let's do it, guys.
Swing away.
Yes, Chief.
How about that, indeed? Oh, yeah. All right, this week's Yard of Questions comes to us from one of our favorite listeners and friends of the show, David Gutierrez.
Oh, jeez.
Chris, you don't sound too confident in these questions. Oh, geez, is your response.
He goes off on some tangents. I'm a little concerned about this, but we'll see.
Oh,
Not that we don't, but it's our show. We can do whatever the hell we damn well please.
That's right. Well, we get what we get, and we drew David Gutierrez today. I'm confident in his Yardo question. So here we go. Question 1, and this is for the both of you, Chris and Meltdown. What's been your single worst concert experience? Which band or performer let you down? Wow.
I don't know if Meltdown can really reveal that since he's in the business, but we'll let him go first.
Well, I can't say that an artist or band has really let me down, but this is a classic story. But I took my wife to a Cher concert about 16 years ago because she loves Cher, and I bought her tickets fully expecting her to go with her aunt or her friend or whatever.
Right.
And the day came along, and she's like, "You got to take me. Nobody can go with me." And I actually bought these tickets, and I don't know, it's like I don't buy many concert tickets, but I had to buy them because we don't get Cher tickets just handed to us at work. So
yeah, wrong demographic.
I took her, and it's a really long story, but I ended up getting in a fight with these girls in front of me because they wouldn't sit down, and people behind me were yelling for them to sit down. And I thought if I said something rude enough to them, they would sit down, which they didn't. And then they started fighting, and I got a drink poured on me, and at a Cher concert.
Wow, of all the concerts you've been to, Cher is the one that turned sideways on you.
Yeah, I've been to the heaviest, vicious, most brutal concerts you can think of, and that's the one, right?
No problem at the Slayer show. Cher, borderline a brawl breaking out around you. So there you go.
Right, exactly.
Chris, how about you?
Yeah, the ones that are coming to mind are not necessarily the band I went to see, but the opener would be summer of '89 when I had my college internship at the Milwaukee Journal as an entertainment reporter, and they sent me to review the Vixen, White Lion, Ozzy Osbourne show. White Lion, absolute garbage. Just shit, man. I mean, yeah, okay, Vito Bratta, pretty good guitar player, but that idiot Mike Tramp out front and just their lame
idiot.
They're just their limp dick songs and stuff, and it's like on a bill with Ozzy. I mean, Vixen blew them off the stage. Actually, that just just saying that reminded me of the worst concert I've ever seen. This is the correct answer.
Okay.
And it was at Pine Knob, now the DTE Energy Music Theater, right?
Yeah.
The Cars Heartbeat City Tour. Worst live act ever. And I think the band was coming apart at the time, so they hated each other, but didn't say a word to the crowd. None of them moved from their spot. Played the songs great, but I could have stayed at home and listened on the stereo and gotten the same experience. And they too were torched by the opener, none other than Wang Chung.
Really?
So when Wang Chung is wiping the stage with you got to go reevaluate.
Yeah, it's time to make some changes.
So I'm glad that I mentioned the first one because that brought me to the correct answer. The Cars Heartbeat City Tour. Terrible.
All right.
Yeah, that's another band I've kind of gone down a rabbit hole with as far as vinyl is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them has to do with the fact that movement in stereo is used in Fast Times.
Well, yeah, you want to talk about it, boner-inducing footage. I mean,
I don't want to talk about it, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's okay. You can talk about it. So we know what you're getting at, but yeah, I mean that first Cars album is a masterpiece, obviously, and then you go get into Candio and the rest of it, but the live experience, horrible.
Horrible. That's funny. Okay, so this next question sort of in the same vein. Question 2. What concert was the biggest surprise? Maybe it was an opening band you hadn't heard about or a performer you expected to be awful.
I've got an answer for this, but I'll defer to the guest unless he needs time to think about it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go back to the summer of '89. They sent me to a variety of shows to review, and one of them was the Everly Brothers. Okay, I was about to say we all remember them, but maybe you don't. But they were from the late '50s, Buddy Holly era.
Yeah.
Bye Bye Love, Wake Up Little Susie. If you ever watched Happy Days, the first couple seasons, just littered with Everly Brothers music. Well, this was 1989. I was a senior in college, and I'm like, this is gonna be a fucking geriatric scene. I mean, I don't know why they're sending me to review this show. And every show I went to, I had reviewer seats, so they would be within the first 5 to 10 rows in dead center. So every show I went to, I had the perfect vantage point. Nice venue, definitely a geriatric crowd. But those guys came out and fucking killed it. The vocals were on point, and they had I don't want to say rockabilly, but definitely like a roots rock, country tinged band of older guys. One of them was Alvin Lee on the guitar. If you're a guitar nerd, you know of him. And those guys came out and killed it. I was captivated for the whole show, and I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yes, so in 1992, after Core came out from Stone Temple Pilots, they'd only been out for a couple weeks, and we were playing Sex Type Thing, and Scott Weiland came to the station, and I was interviewing him at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and it was pretty subdued, as you could probably imagine, and it wasn't the funnest interview ever.
Sure.
But anyways, I went to the show that night. And I was kind of blown away. I'm like, man, these guys are really good. And there was about literally 20 people in the whole place.
Really?
And and I've had a chance to ask every single member of the band if they remember that show, and 3 of them remembered it vividly. You can probably guess who didn't.
One guy had no recollection of this event, huh?
Right, yeah. So the DeLeo brothers and stuff, they remembered the name of the venue, and I'm like, how do you remember that? I mean, I just asked them about it like last year or something. It was like, back in 1992, but I thought that was one of those shows I'll never forget. And Queensryche doing the whole Operation Mindcrime thing was a show that I was like really blown away by as well.
What was the venue for the STP show?
That was a place in Buffalo, and
Okay.
it's not there anymore. But it was called the Scrap Yard. It was actually a really cool little club and a venue and stuff. But yeah, it didn't last very long.
All right, cool.
Now, was there such a small crowd because they hadn't broke yet, or was there some other reason?
They hadn't broke yet, and I saw them play, and they played for like 45 minutes, or I probably played the whole record. And I remember thinking to myself, these guys are pretty good. And then they jumped off the stage and went right to the bar. And I told them about that, and they go, "Oh yeah, well we thought this career wasn't going to be for us, so we might as well drink."
Yeah, jeez, wow.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that everything can change in a blink of an eye, and suddenly you're a huge household name for the next several decades. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, and question 3.
Good question so far from Mr. Goodyear, as I take back what I said earlier. He's had a few outbursts on social media.
He's passionate.
He is passionate.
He's a man of passion.
Sometimes he needs to be put in check, but, he's doing all right now.
All right, well, we draw these questions at random. I don't think he necessarily was thinking of us having a guest on to answer this, but we'll ask it anyway. This sounds like it's more of a question for Chris directly, but question 3. You get to appoint a permanent third chair who isn't Nick. Who is it and why? The only limitation is that they're alive.
Let's see. Jeez. I don't know. I'm kind of liking the revolving door at this point.
Yeah. Maybe how about instead of permanent, we're just going to change this question because we don't like it, and also we can make it work for Chris and Meltdown to answer. Maybe who would be someone fun to be on the show? Not like who would be permanent? Who would be a fun guest? Do you have anyone, Chris, on your
guest
list?
host?
Yeah, just someone. We have Meltdown today, and we're very happy to have him.
Oh, of course.
Who else would you like to have at some point? I don't know. Who would fit in, or who would you be interested in speaking to? I don't know.
I don't know. To sit and dissect music would be. Yeah, I guess I would have to say John 5, and I could pester his sister about getting him on the show, but I really don't want to go that route. I don't want to be that guy, but I would like to have a conversation with him, and on the subject of remembering things. I'm sure he does because it was a pretty significant thing, but I'd like to chat with him about that battle of the bands back in '83.
Yeah.
And just what his recollections of it were, because mine, being in the crowd, were like, this kid is a fucking virtuoso. He's in 7th grade, maybe was even 6th grade back then, just laying waste to the joint. And the rest of us were just like, and you see that and you're like, okay, he's going to become a big star. But how often does that really happen?
Does it really happen?
And it's
right?
happened for him.
Yeah.
And I always get a kick out of it when I see him on the Access TV shows or just anything where I'm like, I remember seeing him in the 6th grade, and he was fucking awesome then.
Yeah.
He's even better now. I mean, this guy's recorded albums with David Lee Roth. I mean, just how surreal must that be? It's incredible. So I'll pick him.
There you go. That's a good one.
Who is, to frame the question for you, Meltdown, who is someone who has yet to be on any of your shows that you would like to interview?
Oh, man. I've interviewed Ozzy before, but not for the podcast. I'm trying to think. I've interviewed a lot of guys. I've never interviewed anybody from AC/DC. I've never interviewed Ace Frehley. I was supposed to. I've met Ace Frehley before, but I've never interviewed him. It's been years. But I'll tell you what, just talking about someone who's super fun and just a great guy, and he's got all the money, he's had all the chicks, he's done everything he could possibly do. David Coverdale from Whitesnake is one of the funnest people to talk to.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is so much fun. If you listen to his interviews and that, you can just imagine him just kicking back, drinking a glass of wine and just laughing. I mean, he's just the greatest guy to talk to.
And he's a great Twitter follow.
Is he really?
He's
yeah.
Trust the PC culture, shying away from double entendres, not even in his consciousness.
Oh.
He lets rip with some stuff on there that's just, it's refreshing to see that, because you don't see it anymore. He doesn't, and zero fucks given from that guy about being politically correct or not offending anybody or anything. I mean, he's just if you're not following him on Twitter, I encourage you to do so. Very entertaining.
I just followed him right now, so I'm excited.
Yeah, he's great. And like I said, he's done everything. He's got all the money. It doesn't matter, man. He just throws it out there. I think he's one of the funnest people to talk to. Sammy Hagar is great. Like I was saying before, some of the classic guys, the Alice Coopers and stuff, you just can't go wrong with those guys,
There you
Well,
go.
and we couldn't go wrong with Meltdown, and you lived up to the billing. I just want to say again, a pleasure having you on. It's such a kick out of someone who's a regular on-air personality of the radio station I grew up listening to. So awesome that you agreed to come on, especially after the busy day you had and the busy day you're going to have tomorrow, and we appreciate it,
Yeah, no, it was my pleasure for sure. And love the show, love listening to you guys. And I couldn't wait to jump at the chance. And I love talking about music and talking about rock. And it's like I've been in this business for 30 years, man. I've got a lot of stories. So if you guys ever need to fill another couple hours again, let me know.
Oh yeah, we'd love to have you back, man. Anytime. We'll have to set something up. Get you in the rotation. We're gonna be bothering you. You're gonna have your voicemail box is gonna be full soon. You're not gonna be responding to us anymore.
You're gonna pull Gene Simmons on us and block our numbers. You don't know the floodgates you just opened up.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime you're available. I mean, I think it's been true of all of our guests that we've had great conversations, and we definitely appreciate the time.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. It's been fun.
And hey, man, how can people follow you online?
I'm at Meltdown WRIF on Twitter and Facebook, and I think it's Meltdown I think it's WRIF Meltdown on Instagram. I don't know how I screwed that up, but just look for the at Meltdown WRIF with the blue check mark. Not a big deal.
Ooh, look at that. Other than Jericho, you're our first blue check mark. How about that? Rarefied air.
Jericho, it's so funny. I have a picture right over my shoulder right now. Actually, I have a couple with Jericho, but the one over my shoulder in my studio where I'm at right now is it's me and Jericho and Sinister Gates at about 12:30 in the morning one night drinking.
Wow,
that's another trio.
Yeah, it is.
It's no Dave Coulier, but
I got a picture with him above me as well. So yeah. I'm a picture guy, so I like to have my pictures. And I always thought to myself, one day my kids are going to think I'm the biggest jack off in the world, so I better have a lot of pictures to let them know that I was pretty cool at one point. And so I'm in my rock room, and I got about probably close to between 200 and 300 pictures of me and rock stars or whatever.
Do you post those on Instagram and stuff, like old photos?
Sometimes I do. I hashtag it on Meltdown's Rock Wall.
That's cool. I have to check it out.
And it's like, yeah, like, I just feel fortunate. It's not like I'm trying to be like a giant douche about it. I really feel fortunate that I've been able to, barely graduate high school and do what I've done with my life. And it's like, I don't take it for granted, and I work hard at it every day. And so it's like, it's really kind of, I still get excited when I get to meet a childhood hero of mine or something like that,
Yeah, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, and you don't ever want to lose that. Just like you don't want to, like you said, you're getting back into Bay Area metal. It's like you never want to lose that sense of like initial discovery of something really cool, and you never want it to be lost on you that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's been a really cool ride, and like I said, I'm approaching 30 years, and you know, when a girl at work texts me, do I want to interview Alice Cooper? I'm like, you're going to text me that? It's like, of course, you know what the answer is, you know,
yeah,
or whatever, you know. It's like
you get to interview Alice Cooper is what it should say, not do you want to?
Right, and yeah. And some of the friends I've made, you know, through this business and stuff, and just the stuff like doing this kind of stuff with you guys is so much fun. And it's like, you know, like I said, it's not lost on me that, you know, it's something that I get to do that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you for your time. This is a low point for you, so we appreciate you taking the time out. Sorry. But yeah.
He's gone from David Coverdale to us. That's quite the drop off.
I'll tell you what, man, it was hard to come into the house today because it was like 75 and sunny out here, and I know you guys, it's like you're cooped up all winter long. This was like the nicest day of the year, and I'm like, man, can't it just rain or something?
Right. Yeah. Sorry to cut that short on you, man.
Nah, you're all good, man.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you sometime soon. Thanks so much for coming on. And everybody follow Meltdown on social media. All right, we'll be back next week.